What's up, everyone? This is James Quilty, and welcome to another episode of Beyond Your Upline. So when you start having doubts, what do? Well, we're going to talk about that in today's episode, so let's get to it. How do you build a successful business in network marketing when everyone you know thinks it's a scam? How do you achieve that dream lifestyle when 99% of distributors quit within their first year, broke and worse off than when they started? If you ask the so-called experts or talk to your family and friends, they will tell you that it's impossible, that it can't be done. But it is being done, and it's happening each and every day by a select group of people that you probably never even heard of. My name is James Quilty. Join me as I seek to find out how these elite few beat the odds and succeed in network marketing. Welcome to Beyond Your Upline. So, have you ever had doubts in the decision that you made building your business? Or have you been in your business for a while and you're like, is this really for me? You know, we all have those thoughts, right? And there's nothing wrong with it. I know when I brought those concerns up to my upline a number of years ago, they were understanding, but then immediately they jumped into, well, this is not for everybody. Maybe you're not cut out for business. Maybe this journey of entrepreneurship is not for you. Maybe going back into the 9-to-5 world is, maybe that's what's best for you, because not everybody can do this. And some people just need to be told, what to do. They just can't operate on their own and direct themselves, right? I got that. And at first I was like, woo, because immediately I didn't want them to think, no, I'm in this, right? But then, it started to become harder and harder. And then I started to become a little bit disgruntled because I didn't feel like they were hearing me. I felt like they were like almost making me feel bad for having those thoughts. So, I just kind of, kept it to myself and just slowly kind of, pulled myself away from the business, right? And I don't know if you can relate or not, but I share that and I bring that up because having doubts is normal. Right? Having concerns is part of this journey. A lot of us seem to think when we make the decision to build a network marketing business, or, we hear a presentation, we like that, we're like, yes, I want to do that. And we start on this journey. It's not a linear process, right? It's not a straight line from A to B. No, it is peaks and valleys. It is A to, -0, and then it's like to C, and then you go back to A. And I mean, it is like all over the place, right? But it's like anything in life. Right. You have certain things that you have to go through. Yes. And, when you start on this new path or this new journey, the problem is that, this may be a different situation, but you still have you. You still have your past, baggage from previous situations that you are dragging along with you. And most of the time, we've never dealt with those types of situations. Or, we've never dealt with the situations that we had to go through, right? So we're still carrying on that baggage. And it's almost like this sack of rocks. And we're trying to climb up this hill, this new hill. But then we have like this 100-pound pack of like all the stuff that happened to us, years and years ago. We're still carrying that around, and we wonder why we fall and we struggle and we don't feel like, going on, right? And so that happens, and it's perfectly normal. And what I wanted to share, and why why I brought this up in this episode was because, a lot of people that I follow, especially, people that I have been working with and that I looked up to, and then, I had also, started in this journey, with them, in the network marketing industry. Some of them have moved on and they were doing like other things. Other people, they just like, it's not, for me, and they have quit. And for whatever reason, they're not in it anymore. And these are people that I look up to, and I get kind of sad. I was like, oh, man, you were so awesome. It's not that I take that back. It's not that they're not awesome, right? But I feel sad because, we were working together, and I enjoyed, working with them. And I'm happy that, they're doing something that they enjoy, but, I feel like I'm kind of like by myself. Does that make any sense? Right? But it's not a bad thing. If you're having doubts, that's actually healthy. And you need to ask yourself and evaluate, is this where I'm at currently with my current needs and then also my current values? Is this the right option for me at this time? And you know what? Sometimes you need to take a step back. Sometimes it's not right for you for whatever reason. It doesn't mean that it was a mistake to begin with. It doesn't mean that, it may be for you in the future, right? But just for whatever reason, now it may not be for you, right? And then other times it's you're growing. Right. And every time that we grow, it's painful. So, I always, like to, tell my clients, when you're starting to train, it hurts. Right. And then you wake up, that next day and you're sore and, and your back is stiff and your arms are tight. And you know what? You feel fatigued and you're like, oh, my goodness. Right. And it takes like a week before you to get out of that. And then you start to, get a little bit of momentum and you start feeling good and the scale starts to go down. And then you hit that plateau where you're pushing and you don't see any results. And then you start to get frustrated and then you wake up like after, 4 or 5 weeks and then all of a sudden, things just start changing. You start seeing, more sculpted muscle. The weight just starts to come off. You start to look leaner and, more in shape, right? And it's this constant, like I said in the beginning of the episode, these peaks and valleys. You're going up and you're going down. Just like in training, it's the same thing with your business, right? Sometimes it's just you're hitting that plateau and you just got to kind of, put your head down and you just got to kind of keep pushing through, right? And then other times, it's like, is this right for me? I'll give you another example. So when my wife and I had, after COVID had hit, I had kind of stopped. I was actually building a personal training business through a big corporate gym, and so obviously they shut down. So I went home and I was with my family, and I kind of backed off of my training, and again I didn't have to be so hardcore. I was getting a little bit older. I was when COVID hit, I was about 49. Yeah, I think it was like 49, 48, 49, somewhere around there. And anyway, I felt like I didn't need to go hardcore all the time, right? And it was time for me to kind of ease up just a little bit and just to exercise, just to keep myself kind of healthy, and just kind of maintain where I was. Okay, and then after, things started picking up, in the economy and, stores started opening up and stuff like that, I wanted to start, getting back, into fitness and stuff like that. And, I found myself, was like, okay, well, you know what? I need to kind of jump in to what I was doing before, all these hardcore type, training, sessions that I was doing before, kettlebell, CrossFit, P90X, all of those things. I love that. And so I started to jump back, into that type of training, and I was sore, and my wife was like, you need to watch yourself. You shouldn't be pushing yourself this hard. And I was like, I know, but I kind of enjoy it. And plus, it inspires, the clients are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you do this, sort of stuff. And, it's kind of showing them that, age is just a number and you could still do these things. Right. And then, one day I was just kind of, practicing some moves. I wasn't doing anything hardcore. I was doing some burpees. I was on a rebounder. So I was, doing, some jumps, and then I got off the rebounder, and then off the edge of the rebounder, I was doing some burpees, and I was just kind of going, back and forth, and I heard this pop in my left knee. And, long story short, I had a level 1 injury to my MCL. Right. And it wasn't that bad. I was, kind of scared, and, the physical therapist, it's not that big of a deal. You could still put pressure on it. What about twisting? I said, yeah, it feels a little bit uncomfortable, but I could still do that. It's like, okay, so it's probably a level 1, a little bit of inflammation. You may have just strained it. So not a problem. Okay. So started, working through that. Well, then, I think I was icing it or something, and I forget the movement, but then it was like a few weeks later, my leg had locked up. And it was the first time that it ever happened, and I couldn't extend my leg. I was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? And then after that, my entire knee swelled up, and it went from a level 1 to a level 2. I still to this day, I can't remember exactly like what I did. And I was like, oh my God. And so now this was like weeks for me to start to rehab this, right? And then it started to feel better. After it was probably like 8 weeks, it was a little bit of residual pain, but I could start doing a lot of the things that I did before. So it was great. And I was doing some stretching, and I remember kneeling down, and I just kind of twisted to grab my foam roller, and I hear this crunch. And I'm like, what the heck? And I couldn't, and same thing, my knee locked up. And I was like, did I just re-tear it? I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So, anyway, I had to go through the process. So and then it took me almost a year to finally rehab my knee. And now it's I would say it's about 100%, but just still some things, it kind of tweak it just a little bit. But but then after I did that, I found that, you know what? I don't really need to be doing these hardcore workouts like I did before. My situation and my values had changed. It didn't mean that what I was doing before wasn't good. It didn't mean that, that those were bad, programs. They weren't. But for me and where I was, it didn't fit anymore. Right. And so, I, started training, differently. Right. I started doing a lot of non-impact, sort of, things. I started doing a lot more, kettlebell work. I started to do a lot more mobility and flexibility, and not so much, HIIT work. Does that make sense? And I share that story with you because just like, just like in my situation, something that came up and then my values changed. And so I started to pull back and I stopped doing the things that I was doing before that I loved doing, got me great results. But because my values had changed, because my priorities were different, because of the situation with my lower body, it wasn't the same anymore. My focus changed to different types of training, and the same thing with you. So if you start having doubts, it could be that, yes, you're just getting kind of frustrated because you're not seeing any results. That's completely different. But you know what? It could also mean that your values and where you are in your life has changed. And so maybe what you are doing is not right for you at this moment. And maybe there is something that you should, look towards or look to, or, decide to do something else. Right. And I just wanted to kind of come on here and encourage you, and also to kind of take that pressure off you, because I know a lot of uplines, they put that pressure on you. No, you made this commitment. You said you're going to do this. You have to do this. And yes, absolutely. You don't want to be one of those people that say, yeah, I'm in, and then you end up like quitting after a day, right? That's something that's totally different. But if, because your situation has changed, because your values have changed, because where you are in your life is different, then you know what? It's completely acceptable and okay if you don't want to do this business anymore. Or if you're like, you know what? Just having somebody say what I can sell and have that control just doesn't work for me, and you want to start your own company, fantastic. Great. Then go and do that. But remember, you have the freedom. In entrepreneurship, there is no right or wrong. There is no definite process. And even in network marketing, even if your upline is telling you, this is our system, this is how you do it, right? You still have the freedom to run your business the way that you want to run it, right? For me, I don't want to do home parties. I am not going to get on a 3-way phone call. I am not going to call up my family and friends. Absolutely not. I'm just not going to do that. One, I don't think it's respectful to the people that I have developed relationships with. And number two, they never raised their hand and said, hey, I am interested in something like this. I am sitting there out there. And when I do that, put them on a list and start calling them, I am basically, in my eyes, I'm begging them, you know what? I want you to do this for me. It's all about me and it's not about them. I can try and manipulate the words in a sense of like, oh no, they need this. Oh no, they need to lose weight. Oh no, they need sleep. But they've never said, I need this product. I'm looking for this product, right? So again, it's all about me. I'm trying to get something from them. And so that bothers me. And so I wanted to learn how to market the correct way, how to actually use emotion and actually find out what people are actually struggling with, and to be able to communicate that in a way that respects them and also makes them, feel like they have had a say in the whole transaction relationship. Does that make sense? And so that's why I started studying marketing. That's why I started, studying how the old time marketers would, market. How did they do that? How did they promote? How did they get sales without literally having to, knock on doors and, pick up the phone and hound people? I wanted to learn how to market, how to write a sales letter, how to use words to invoke emotion to get people to take action. That is what I wanted to learn. And so that's my value, right? And so that's how I choose to run, my business, because it's my business. And so whether it fails or whether it succeeds, it's all on my shoulders, not anybody else's. But that's just me. And I share that, with you because you have that same freedom. And you know what? Sometimes, we have all the good intentions and we start this business and we learn some skills, but sometimes we weren't meant to build a big, large organization. We were just meant to, develop some skills for us to use that to go on to something else. Does that make sense? That's why I say entrepreneurship is not a linear process. It is messy. It is up and down and backwards and forwards, and there is no right way. And sometimes when you start an adventure, it is an adventure, but you start a venture, sometimes you're just doing it to learn some skills. You were never meant to make $1 million with that venture, but you needed that in order to become more of the person that you need to become in order to make that $1 million in whatever future venture you're heading towards. Does that make sense? So I hope you got some value out of this. And again, I hope that you take these words and listen, if you're having doubts, it's perfectly okay. And if you decide that, based upon where I'm at, this is not for me, that is okay too. Don't let anybody else tell you different, including your upline. I am here to encourage you because I've had to go through that and I've felt like I was the only person and I was on my own and nobody was supporting me. And I wanted to make sure when I started this podcast that I would be the person that I wish that I had when I first started in this journey. And so that's why I encourage you and I also support you. If this is not for you, awesome. Go do something else. Go find something else. Take the skills that you've learned and go apply that. But, and then also if you're just having a bad day, cool. All right. You know what? Kind of, take a break, shake it off. Next day, jump right back into it. All right. So that's all I have for you. I hope you got some value out of this. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, I'm going to talk to you in the next episode. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for listening. If you want to hear more of how the top income earners are actually building their network marketing business beyond their family and friends, please subscribe so you don't miss any of the secret hacks that I uncover.